How do friendships in the Bible relate to marriage? Let's get into that. Hey, welcome to Women Power Wednesday on the Marriage by Design podcast. Women Power Wednesday is a time where I get to talk to the ladies about what the Bible has to say to women, about women, things that we can apply to our lives as women. And we're starting a new month, so this month we're going to be talking about friendships and all sorts of things having to do with friends and how that relates to marriage and the things that we can learn from the Bible. So this week we're talking about friendships that we see in the Bible and what we can learn from them. And then next week we'll get into circle of friends, what that means. And then the week after, making friendships a priority. And then the last week, how to be a good friend. So this week I want to talk to you about friendships in the Bible, what we can learn from those. But first I want to start out with, what does this have to do with marriage? Because this is a marriage channel. So why are we talking about friendships? Other than the obvious that our partner should be our best friend, and we should have a great friendship with our spouse. Why are friendships important to our marriage? Well, there's somebody that I know who was really influential to us. So Pastor Ty Schenzel, he used to say, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future." And we've found that to be so true. The friends that we have really influence us so much, and they influence our marriage. So our friends have become people who are champions for our marriage, who really spur us on towards the Lord, spur us on to have a better marriage. The people who are our close friends are doing that. They're also we don't always have couple friends. We have friends who are just individuals too, but they're people that help to make us better people. They're people who invest in us and we invest in them, and we make each other better, and that makes us better in our marriage. It makes us better people overall. So we've found that our friendships have impacted our marriage greatly, and in a lot of good ways. So that's why friendships have to do with marriage, because they affect that so much. So this week I want to talk to you about some friendships that we can see in the Bible and what we can learn about those, what we can learn about being a friend from those. And the first one I'm going to talk about, so when I think about friendships in the Bible, the first friends that come to, that sounds cheesy. The first ones that come to mind are the friendship between Jonathan and David. And we can see those in that friendship played out in 1st and 2nd Samuel. So if you want to read about those, that'd be great. But in 1st and 2nd Samuel, we see a friendship formed between Jonathan and the future king of Israel, David. And we see a beautiful friendship that's formed. So at the time, there's the king is King Saul. His son is Jonathan, and Jonathan and David are the ones who become friends. So Saul is a great king, and David is somebody that Saul at first ends up really having a lot of respect for, and David becomes close to Saul, and then Saul really ends up turning on David. And the interesting thing about this is the Lord has revealed that David is going to be the next king, not Jonathan, even though Jonathan is the successor to Saul. He's Saul's son. He should be the one who's the next king, but the Lord has revealed that David is going to be the next king, and Jonathan knows this, but yet Jonathan and David form this beautiful friendship, even though Jonathan knows something's going to happen to me that I will not be the next king. It will be David. And so there's not this competition between the two. There's really a pouring in to David on Jonathan's part, knowing that he's going to take his rightful place, and knowing that that's God's plan, and Jonathan seems to be okay with that. Jonathan still has this friendship with David is amazing. And so it's self-sacrificing. Jonathan really, he saves David's life from Saul. Saul ends up trying to kill David, and Jonathan helps to protect David, and very self-sacrificing. We see, we learn, just the deep love that they have between the two of them, and it's loyal. The two of them are very loyal to each other. So in Jonathan protecting David from the king, who's Jonathan's father, but we also see after Jonathan dies, David takes in Jonathan's crippled son, and we see that friendship ongoing in David taking in Jonathan's son, and it's very sweet. So I'm going to read in 1 Samuel 18, 1 through 5, just an interesting part of their friendship. So 1 Samuel 18:1 says, after David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. And that's amazing. It's saying Jonathan's friendship with David, there was like there was such a love between the two of them that Jonathan loved David as he loved his own self. From that day, Saul kept David with him and did not let him return home to his family. And Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. Jonathan took off the robe he was wearing and gave it to David along with his tunic and even his sword, his bow, and his belt. So we're seeing that they had some sort of covenant between the two of them, a friendship covenant between the two. And Jonathan took off his royal robe and his sword and his bow and tunic and belt and gave them to David. And so I don't know if it was like a foreshadowing of, these royal things are going to become yours, or what it was, but obviously he was giving up himself towards David. So anyway, in that we see that it was self-sacrificing between the two of them and very loyal. So those are some things that we can learn from that. And then another friendship we can see in the Bible is Paul and Timothy. So Paul was a missionary for the Lord. He was trying to spread the gospel, and Timothy was his mentee. So Paul was doing a lot of mentoring of Timothy, and they did a lot of ministry together. And we can see just a lot of Paul trying to teach Timothy, and Timothy really desiring to be taught by Paul and to know the Lord better and to do ministry better. And so there was a kind of formal relationship in the mentor-mentee, but there was also a great friendship that was forged there too. And so what we can learn from that is there was this friendship that was formed in ministry. They were doing ministry together, but it was more than just that. It was that they were knowing the Lord better because of their pursuit of the Lord together and the work that they were doing for the Lord together. And so their relationships with the Lord were strengthened. The Bible talks about iron sharpens iron. So they were both able to sharpen each other in their friendship and in their doing ministry together. And they were also able to spread the gospel together. So they were reaching other people. They were strengthening their own relationships between the two of them and strengthening their relationships with the Lord. So that's something that we can see in that friendship. And then also Naomi and Ruth. In Naomi and Ruth's story, Naomi became Ruth's mother-in-law. And then Naomi lost her husband, and then she lost her two sons as well. And Ruth was, again, one of Naomi's daughter-in-laws. And at that time, it was customary then to say, okay, Ruth, go back to your family, go back to your people. And Ruth said, no, I'm going to stay with you. There's a quote, there's a famous quote that Ruth says that goes something like, I will go where you go, I will lodge where you lodge, and your God will become my God. And Naomi was a follower of the Lord, and she taught Ruth to become a follower of the Lord. And so Ruth's connection with Naomi was an amazing thing to say, no, I'm not going to go back to my people. I'm going to stay with you. And two widowed ladies staying together, life back then was probably going to be very hard for them. But Ruth knew that her calling was to stay with Naomi, and God provided for them. He provided in amazing ways, and that story of redemption is really cool. And so we learn selflessness through these friendships. Ruth was selfless to stay with Naomi. She didn't take that easy road. She and then loyalty and love, a deep love and deep loyalty. They both Naomi was leading in a way that was pointing to the Lord, and Ruth learned from that. And then they both gave support when it was needed. They supported each other for basic life. And God was so faithful in that story. It's really a cool story of family and friendship. So those are just some of the things that we can learn from friendships in the Bible. There are so many other friendships that we could look into in the Bible. I would really encourage you to listen to Nathan's Testosterone Tuesday from this week, because he has a different perspective of friendships in the Bible and what we can learn from those. And he takes the churchy answer and uses Jesus as the ultimate friend, which is great. But he has a different perspective. So I would really encourage you to listen to his episode for this week too. And then come back for the rest of the episodes as we talk about friendship this month and how that relates to marriage. So thanks for joining, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for joining us on Marriage by Design. If you were impacted by this video, like it by hitting the thumbs up below. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and once you subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be notified when new episodes release.
Excellent. Also, one of the huge pillars of our show is interactivity between us and you. So we would love you to comment down in the comments below if you have thoughts about this video, or if you have questions or other things you'd like to see considered in the future. In addition, if you'd like, you can email us. That's marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram @marriagebydesignpodcast, or you can find us on Facebook by searching Marriage by Design Podcast. Finally, if you want to, you can tweet at us. We do have a Twitter account that is @MarriageXDesign. Thanks, and have a great day.